Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to another Medical Projects webinar. Thanks for your patience. We were just waiting for everybody to get logged in, so we always wait till a couple of minutes past. For those of you who haven't joined one of our webinars before, my name's Mark Williams. I work here at Medical Projects. We've been running these free webinars since April, March last year, and they've been super popular. We cover all kinds of different topics from work experience, the UCAT, personal statements, interviews, just anything that kind of relates to the medical school application process. And we're kind of in the middle of UCAT season at the moment. And I know it can be quite a stressful exam where you kind of get one chance and you've got to try and get a really good score. So we want to just do some sessions looking at some of the questions and just work through a couple together, and hopefully it helps you with some of the revision that you're doing, and hopefully it will help with your UCAT score as well. So tonight we're looking at quantitative reasoning and decision making, two quite tricky sections or feared sections. So we're going to go through a few questions, work through the logic of it, and talk about the answers as well. Just before we get started, just some of the kind of like housekeeping and instructions. We will finish this webinar within an hour. We'll send a copy of the recording out and the slides within 48 hours as well. And we will have a Q&A section at the end. So if you do have any questions about the UCAT, we will try and keep the question specifically about the UCAT, given that's the entire topic. We use the upvote system on the Q&A tool as well. So if somebody else has already asked a question that you want asking, you can hit the thumbs up button. It brings it to the top so we know, the most popular questions, and we can try and get through as many of those as possible. Yeah, should we get going? So Minnie is joining us again. If you watched some of our webinars, hello, how are you?
Hello, I'm good, thank you.
Good. I was just saying that you joined us on some of our webinars in the past. So if anybody was watching from kind of last summer onwards, then they might have met you then. But for everybody that's not been on webinars recently, do you want to just kind of quickly introduce yourself and tell everybody kind of where you're at?
Yeah, so I'm currently at Manchester Uni. I've just finished my second clinical year. So spent my first 3 years at St Andrews, and then I've done 2 at Manchester. So I'm going into my final year in a few weeks. So that's a bit of a scary time, but yeah, loving medicine. So you guys have picked a great course to apply to, and yeah, the UCAT's pretty important part of the application process. So it's good that you guys are here tonight and getting prepared early.
And you just kind of finished so you had a set of OSCEs at the end, which are kind of practical exams, and then you've had a project to submit, and you officially got some time off now as well for some, haven't you?
Finally, yeah, it's been a tough year. That clinical's definitely very busy time, but yeah, at least we've got a little bit of time to enjoy the sun.
Cool. Then final year, nervous, excited?
Yeah, I'm excited. I think it'd be nice to actually sort of have the end in sight, and because that's what you're working for 5 or 6 years. So it's nice to almost be in touching distance of actually being a doctor, which is really scary, but it's exciting.
Cool. So should we have a look at these 2 sections of the UCAT? I'll kind of let you go through some of the solutions and some of the questions as well. But if you need it from me, just shout, and then I'll jump back into the Q&A bit at the end as well if you want.
Awesome. Sounds good. Cool. Yeah, let's get cracking. So I was just going to go through basics to start off with of quantitative reasoning. So this is like your mathsy section. So as doctors, it's pretty important. I say we, I'm not yet, but on the ward there's drug calculations to do. You've got fluid charts, things like that. So it's quite important that you're comfortable with doing a bit of mental maths, a bit of just doing percentages, things like that. So that's what basically this section is testing, that you are pretty comfortable with doing some maths off the top of your head. So 36 questions, and you've got a minute instruction time, so that's just sat there reading basically what the section's about, and then 24 minutes of actually answering questions. So that only gives you about 40 seconds per question, which is not very long. So my top tip would literally be to brush up on your mental maths. Whether it's, maybe you've got a friend that's doing the UCAT with you and just, testing each other, firing, your times tables, or just some mathsy questions at each other, some percentages. And I think there's apps out there as well that can just fire questions at you. So I think just getting comfortable with doing it under pressure as well. So, you don't want to be sat there trying to, figure stuff out. And you've got the calculator there as well, but it's always better when you have a good idea in your head of what the answer is going to be. Another one, practice with the on-screen calculator. So I put a little picture of it up here, which is what it looks like in your exam. So, you can't take a calculator in with you. And so I think get quick at using it and know all the shortcuts. So using your memory buttons as well to bring up numbers that you've worked out before, and using those to your advantage, and just getting quick with it as well. And try using your number pad as well. That's often a lot quicker than using your mouse to click the numbers. So here's a list of sort of the general topics that come up on your quantitative reasoning. So I won't read them all out and bore you, but make a note of those. We'll send the slides out. But I think if you can do those, then I don't think this section should give you any real problems, because it doesn't go anything beyond GCSE basic maths. So get good at those and you'll be absolutely fine. So there we go. So just thought we'd go through a little practice question to start off with. So I'll give you guys, I don't know how long, I'll put a timer on for a minute maybe, if you want to work through doing this, and then maybe after a minute, if haven't got a poll, but if you want to maybe pop your answers in the chat, I'll set
a poll if you want it.
Oh, have you?
Want a poll?
Oh, yeah, go on.
All right. How long? You tell me when the timer's up, and then I'll put the poll up, so everyone's got time to work it out. Okay, so I'll be nice, and you've seen the question now already for a little bit, so I'll put on a minute because I'm being nice, and yeah, and just pick A to E. Twenty more seconds. Okay, that's done. If you want to put the poll up and see what people think. Up on your screen there, can you see that? Yeah. Yeah, I can see some votes coming in now. Quite mixed. Yeah, quite mixed. I'll share the results once most people have kind of voted. So I'll give everyone like 10 seconds to put the vote in. And I'll share the results as well, so everyone can kind of see generally what other people are going for, and then we can work through, we can get to the correct answer. Right, I'm going to end it in 5 seconds. So if you haven't voted already, pick an answer. Right, ended. Right, I'll bring up the results so everyone can kind of see roughly what's going on here. So this is everybody's votes so far. So it doesn't tell us the right answer or the wrong answer yet. This is just everybody's votes. So
got most, oh no, sorry, not most, 40% people saying C, 29 for B, 20 for D, 10 for A, and then 1 for E. So yeah, we'll go through and see what the right answer is. So I think this one was quite tough because I think it's one that you have to read quite thoroughly, and if there's one bit of information you miss, then it kind of leads you down the wrong to the wrong answer. So I've highlighted the important bits that I would have sort of, you know, underlined in my head, if you know what I mean, about and what information I'm going to use. So prime farmland is 7,500 per acre. And I think that's something to take note of as well, is the units that they've used. That's something that if you're, you know, rushing, it's easy to miss. So I think taking note that that's per acre, whereas the building land is 1.1 million per hectare. I think that's how you pronounce it. And then this table as well is in thousands of pounds as well. So that's another place that people might slip up. They might think that's just in 120 pounds or 90 pounds. So that's in thousands of pounds. And then as well, taking a note of this conversion from, because that will come in handy, as we'll see in a second. So the right answer was actually B. So here's what I sort of did to work it out. So I wanted to find the total cost of the land first. So you've got building land, 1.1 million. So you've got that. And then you need the cleaning costs on top as well. And you want it for residential uses. So uses. So you'll go into factories, residential, find 120 there. And obviously it's in thousands, so 120,000. So add those two together. And then this is a tricky bit. I think that why C is the more popular answer as well, is that conversion from acres to hectares. So it's 7,500 per acre, but we need to convert it to hectares. So we need to multiply that 7,500 by 2.47. So we get the cost for a whole hectare. And that means that we can then, you know, compare the two. So yeah, so, and then that will give you 65. So if you didn't multiply that by 2.47, that would give you the 162, which is where I think people have where people have missed out doing that. But yeah, that's a really tricky one to start off with, but hopefully that will help you remember to look out for units, and making sure that, you know, when you're comparing two values, that you're using the same units for both of those.
Yeah, and they do that on purpose as well.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
they put answers in there that they know if you miss a conversion or you misread part of it, the answer's in there, and they put it in there. So you think, oh, 162, yeah, I've got that. And then you put that and you move on. And they do it on purpose, and it's really sneaky. You've got to be so careful, and you've got to read things really carefully.
Yeah, and that's why practice is so important, because you will pick up, you know, when you've made a mistake like that, and you, once you've, you know, made that mistake, you learn from it and you won't ever really do it again. So I think that's why it's good going through it like this, so you will hopefully remember from now on.
Yeah, it's a really good example, that.
Yeah, so here's this next one, and here is one that I definitely got confused on when I was practicing. So if we give you guys another minute and put a poll up again, if I can do that. Is that okay, Mark, if we put a poll up for this one?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, just tell me when.
So yeah, I'll just set a timer for a minute. But yeah, these tax ones come up quite a lot, and so yeah, if you guys have practice with this one, we'll go through it. Twenty more seconds. Cool, that's the timer done for a minute.
That should be up on the screen now for everybody to vote. So again, I'll give everybody 20 seconds-ish to vote. And then I'll share the results again, so we'll see what's going on. Do you think this is easier or harder than the last question? Where would you rank this in kind of the difficulty scale?
I think if you've practiced doing and know how tax brackets work, then I'd say this is easier. But I think if you've not come across how tax brackets work, then this is quite a tricky one, which is why I think I would put it in here, just because, you know, it's something that comes up quite a lot. And once you've got your head around, you know, it's simple enough to do.
Should be pretty easy once, as soon as it clicks, like it becomes one of the simple questions.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, okay, it looks like most people have finished, so I'll share the results there. Really mixed again, though.
Yeah.
Shows how tricky they are.
Toughies today, yeah. Cool. So most people saying B, quite a lot saying, yeah, that is a proper mix. So we'll go through it now. So I'll show you a little chart. So the right answer is B, but I'll talk through how I kind of visualize it. It's a really horrible chart I've made that is just kind of how I think about it in my head, and hopefully it might make sense. So this red bit at the bottom, that's your first, you know, $12,000 that you're getting paid, and you're getting paid 12% tax on that, which is the 1,440. But once you go beyond that and you're into the next bracket, you're getting charged 16% tax. But that isn't for the whole thing, that's only for this blue section. So you're only paying 16% on this gap between the 12,000 and this 23,000 that this nurse is on. So basically, how you calculate it then is you're paying, so you're 12% on 12,000, which is your 1440, or shows you here this top, whatever you're paying if you're at the top of the bracket. And then you need to work out how much you're paying the 16% on, which is this gap here between 12,000 and 23,000. So you need to do 23,158 minus 12,000 to find that sort of surplus over 12,000, which is 11,158. And then you need to calculate what 16% of that is. So that's the tax that you're paying on anything above that. And then add that on to the tax that you're paying on that first 12,000. So add those two together and you've got your $3,225 and 28 cents. So I hope that makes sense, but that's, if you sort of picture this in your head and think, okay, if it's in this color, I'm paying however, you know, that whatever percentage of that, and they'll give you the top of the tax bracket as well. So say that they were earning 50,000, you'd use that 6,579 and then do the same again, find that gap between 44,000 and 50,000 and do 22% of that. So I hope that makes sense. And you know, the recording will be up, so if you want to go back through that, then and I can go through it again if people want that at the end.
Yeah, I think it's a really good visualization in your head. So it's like, okay, so 12% on this much, and then I can put that to one side, and then it's calculate that difference between the 12,000 you've already paid tax on, and you know that the difference between 12,000 and the 23,000, that I need to work 16% of that gap.
Yeah,
and that's a really good way to visual. I've not seen anybody explain it with a chart like that before.
Yeah, I just came up with
that visualization looks really good actually.
I think as long as you break it up, then it kind of makes a bit more sense. And like, I think having an image in your head as opposed to loads of numbers that you're trying to like sort of sift through so much. And you can, you know, even if you use your whiteboards, like I'd use my whiteboard in the exam if something like this came up, and just to make sure that I knew, you know, in my head what numbers I'm looking at and where they sit. So yeah, those are the two quantitative reasoning questions. So I'd say just, you know, get comfortable with doing those different calculations, the taxes, the percentages, and looking at the units. But I think, you know, it's one of those that once you've mastered it, it's there, as opposed to something like maybe like abstract, where I think it's one that you just have to continue doing, you know, throughout to get, you know, the patterns down. But decision making as well is a fun one. So you've got 31 minutes of test time and 29 questions. So you get a bit longer now this time for each question. So you get around 63 seconds. And this is all about applying logic to reach a decision. So this is the thing. So sounds stupid, but the answer will be in the question. So I think it's trying not to make assumptions. Like, it's the wording of it will tell you exactly what you need to know. It's just being careful with how they've worded it. So read the question carefully, which is a mistake I consistently make still to this day. Just, you know, taking your time and making note of which words they use. So there's like they'll use some, most, majority, and, you know, the word they use specifically will give you big hints towards the answer. So if they're using the word all, that means there's no exceptions, like it's guaranteed that this is happening. So I mean, it will make more sense when I go through the types of questions, but yeah, just be careful, even if you know, write down the and use diagrams as well, I say is a really good shout. Maybe doing like a Venn diagram or little pictures, just to basically be able to visualize what they're telling you in your head. And don't make assumptions as well. So as I said, like, it will be in the question. If it's not in the question, then, you know, it's not going to be, you know, the answer. So you won't have to think about it in your head. You won't have to make any leaps. Like, it's about logic. So it's about using what information you've been given to find an answer. So here is a question. Don't really know how to, I don't know how best to do it. If I say, give you a minute and a half, all of those, is that too much?
Oh, I think that's relatively fair. We'll put a bit of time pressure on.
Yeah.
Simulate some pressure.
That sounds good. And then are we able to just do like a yes or no poll?
I didn't set a yes or no poll up, but we can choose like A or B. So like A equals yes, B equals no.
That'd be good. Yeah, we could do that.
Okay.
So A is yes, B is no. And I'll set a minute and a half, shall I? Okay. So that's going now, a minute and a half. But yeah, these are tricky. I always get a bit like, whoa, there's a lot of information and everything's overlapping and I don't know what's going on. But I think,
yeah, it can confuse your brain very easily.
Yeah, I think writing it down on your whiteboard in a way that you understand is probably, well, it'll be my way of going about it. Just like little random pictures, and then I'm just practicing them. Practice. So 10 seconds. And done.
So we'll do this for A. So A equals yes and B equals no. we'll try and go through these votes quite quickly because we've got
Yeah.
5 of them to kind of get through. Once we're in the general gist, I'll end it and share it. So that's the first one.
Should we go through them one at a time, or are we going to do them all and then go through them at the end?
I think let's just do them all. Let's do all the polls and then we'll go through them at the end.
I'll make a
Everyone
note
knows
of
what they've got at home.
picked.
You can write, you've got the answers there. So this is for B.
Someone's gone rogue and picked C.
I just don't know. I'm not voting.
Refuse to participate.
Right, I'll relaunch another one. This is for C. Right, I'll end that one.
Oh God, E.
And this is for D. I'll end that one. I'll relaunch again. And this is for E, last one. Right, okay, I'll end that, share the results on that one as well. Cool. This was a lot more kind of convincing. It was like 90-ish% for most of them, I think.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think that's the thing with these ones. I think that it's a lot easier to do in the time, but there are some that are definitely pretty tricky. So hopefully, like, if once we go through this one, then you'll know what to do for the rest of them. But yeah, it sounds good. I thought everyone did. You know, those answers were spot on for all of them, really. So for first one, for A, it was A. So yes, it was. So Diana got rating 4 this year, so she will not receive a bonus. So as you see at the top, you have to have a 1 or a 2 to receive a bonus. So yeah, that's right. She is not receiving a bonus this year. Brian was promoted 3 years ago, so it's definite he will be promoted this year, which is not true. So you are only eligible for promotion after 3 years of service. So he's only eligible, he's not guaranteed to get promoted. So that one, everyone was right on, that was no. So C, Roger was promoted 5 years ago. He received a bonus this year. He did not get a 3. So pretty similar to the first one. So he, you have to get 1 or a 2 to get a bonus. So he must have had a 1 or a 2 if he received a bonus, and which means he can't be 3. For D, Salim got a promotion after working for 2 years, so he cannot be working for the company, which, yeah, everyone got that right as well. Yeah, he can't be working for the company because you need to be there for 3 years to even be eligible for a promotion. So well done that one. And then the number of employees who receive promotion each year is higher than the number of employees that do not receive promotion. So we've got no information on the number of employees receiving promotion or anything like that. So as I was saying before, like, you can't make assumptions. The information that you need will be in the text. So don't start thinking about outside, and especially if it comes to something that you know of from outside, especially the same for the verbal, like you don't need any knowledge from your own reading. It will be in the text. So well done, everyone. I think everyone did really well.
I think that D is probably the sneakiest one for me. That's the one that I had to like slightly think about a little bit there, because you think, oh, he got a promotion after 2 years, so he can't be working for the company, but surely he can still be working there, just been promoted within the company. But then you have to go back and remember you have to be there for 3 years before you can be promoted. So that was the one that like nearly got me.
Yeah, you got to be careful. But yeah, I think it's just keep going back to the question and highlighting bits that are important. And yeah, I would have written down sort of like 1 and 2 bonus, and then 3 years promotion, and just had that simply on my whiteboard that I could refer back to. So I think just getting your own little way of making notes that are easy to go and look out for when you've got a big block of questions, because some of them, you know, if it's just a one-off question with a chunk of text, you don't really need to do that. But you know, when you've got loads and there's all these rules going on, might be worth just having a little write down of some notes. So yeah, here's another one that I have highlighted just because it's just very different. So are we able to do, I feel like this one doesn't need that long.
Maybe 60 seconds?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Right, that started now. But yeah, I think this section has quite a variety of questions that they can ask. So I think this is why I've chosen this one, just to say that like it's not all those sort of logic puzzles. It's, you know, there's very visual stuff as well, and you can get graphs and stuff, but it's still the same sort of approach, just being sensible about it.
Yeah, once you crack the logic for this section, you should be getting pretty decent scores. But you just need to work out those rules and practice those rules. It's a lot easier if somebody explains to you, like, this is the rule that you need to follow. Watch out for these mistakes, because that's what they're going to catch you on. As soon as you get that, you get sky high scores on these.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like quite a fun one to practice as well. Nicer than the like verbal reasoning.
Yeah,
it's like a little bit of a challenge, like something you get in the back of a newspaper or something. So that's the timer done.
I'll put the poll up now.
E again.
The same like 3 or 4 people that just like vote for the one you can't vote for.
Communicating with each other.
Just give that like another 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And I'll share the results. There we go. Can you see those?
Yeah. So well done, everyone. So yeah, 82% of you picking D, which is the right answer. So if I was doing this question, I would literally just go one by one through that list and just, yeah, visualize. Okay, so we're going for gold first, which is the big sort of arrow thing, and think, okay, it's only going to be one of these numbers. I don't know if you can you see my mouse?
I can, yeah.
Okay, that in that row of numbers, and then so diamond next. Okay, so it's got to be in the square, which means it's got to be one of these. 4, yeah. And then you go to silver next, and then so it's got to be in the heart. So it's got to be 75, 23, because it's got to be within those 3 shapes, and then not platinum. So okay, this 23 is within platinum, so we can get rid of that. And then pearl is nowhere to be seen over there. So so yeah, 75, that's how you get there. But I think it's not the hardest question in the world, but I think just being aware that there's yeah, quite a lot of different types of questions to be aware of and to practice. So I think doing as many questions as possible, just so that you've got experience with doing all these different types, and you're never going to be, you know, surprised on the day with like, I've never seen anything like this before, I don't know how to do it. So again, just trying, you know, using question banks and books and courses and everything, just basically using everything you can to, you know, get as much practice in as possible. So yeah, those are those questions, and then I'll hand over to Mark to talk about this.
Yeah, I think it's just like you said, there's people that learn really well with the books, there's people that learn really well with question banks, and then there's people that learn when it's explained to them like that, and by practicing and making mistakes, and if when there's someone there to say, actually, like, these are the common things that people do wrong, this is how we can fix them. So if you did want like a little bit of extra help, that's literally what we do in our kind of UCAT crash course. We're literally filling up the last, I think we've only got 3 courses left, and we want to just fill up those spaces, so we're just giving everyone like a crazy discount on it as well. So normally it's £129 for like the full day, and it's now like less than 50 if you use that code there, which is the UCAT 49. Just take a picture of that if you want to join that course. It's loads of money off, and it just means we can fill up the last few spaces in our course. Yeah, that's it. Do you want to jump into like a Q&A?
Let's do it.
Right, let's have a look. So we'll try and keep the Q&A specifically around the UCAT if we can. So if we see any questions that come up around like a personal statement and things, then we probably won't answer those. So the first question here is, how do you improve your timing in both quantitative reasoning and decision making?
I think it's just practicing and being used to the types of questions that are going to come up, because I think the more you do a certain type of question, like the tax bracket one, like you've done it once now, you're going to know exactly what you're doing for the rest of them, which means that you're going to cut your time down of doing that by 20 seconds at least. So I think just having just practicing as many questions as you can, and there's the same pattern of questions come up. We've got percentage change and ratios and taxes and all that. So it sounds obvious, but just keep practicing and it will come as well. I think it comes naturally, just getting faster the more you do it. I was surprised by the end of it that I was able to get a lot more questions done than the start of revising. So yeah.
Next one is, how many hours in a day and how many weeks do you spend revising for the UCAT?
So I'm not one of those people that advocates you doing like 4 hours a day. I don't think you need to. I think it's one of those where you do it little and often. So I'd say start off maybe doing like half an hour a day, just getting used to the questions at the start, and then maybe once it gets close to the time doing an hour. But I think just being consistent with it. I think if you start off doing hours and hours a day, you're gonna get burnt out. So I'd say, yeah, just do it little and often, and consistency is key with it, I think. And then for how many weeks? 6 to 8 weeks maybe. I'd say if you're starting now, then that'd be good. So I think the earlier you start, I mean, it's nice giving yourself a bit of time, and then you can panic and cram less. So
yeah, I think the thing I always say is like practice with purpose as well.
Yeah.
So make sure that you track the results of your mock tests and things like that. Make sure that you're improving in the sections, or if there's a section that you're not improving on, like get help, like find a different resource, find a friend that is getting really good scores. It's just making sure you know where your weaknesses are and tackling them, because if you just do blind revision, like you don't know what you're not good at. So yeah, just practice with purpose. Similar question to kind of timing again, kind of revise for the UCAT in a month. Maybe take a bit more time if you can, but if you've only got a month left, start now.
Yeah, that's it. If you can, I mean, whether it's enough, I don't know, but you can, and you could still do well. I think, as you're saying, practice with purpose. If you're really organised with it and are committed to working hard, then a month, yeah, be fine.
The next one is about abstract reasoning. Recently seen some advice how to get faster at finding patterns would be great. Let me just kind of reread that.
Yeah, I think just.
Is there any way to get faster at pattern recognition for the abstract reasoning? Is that the best way to phrase that?
Yeah. So
it's practice for that, isn't it?
Yeah, really? That's the thing. I'm trying to think if there's a specific way. I think I can't remember the mnemonic that we gave out at one of our webinars a few weeks back for the abstract reasoning, where you look at color, number, and I can't exactly remember the mnemonic, but there's a really good mnemonic where you've got an organized way of looking rather than just seeing what you can see. It's like okay, I'm going to look for this first. Okay, is there any pattern here? I'm going to look at this next. Is there any pattern here? But
someone's just put it down in there. It scans. I think that's the one.
That's the one. So
in our crash course, so I don't know if that student was on one of our crash courses recently.
Love that. Yeah. So I think practice using that as well if you haven't already, because I think that would help with sort of stopping you getting flustered as well. If you've got a set thing to follow during the question.
What kind of score or what UCAT score is a good UCAT score these days?
It depends where you want to go. I think that some of them you need a high score to go to. So Newcastle, I think it needs a pretty high score, or Manchester tends to be pretty high. But I think, you do it before you apply. So I think that just do as well as you can. And if you're sitting at the average or, above that, then I think you're doing all right, really. And then just select the, schools you're interested in around that score to give you the best chance. So, if you've done average, you can still get in, but just don't apply to loads of schools that need you to get the top marks.
Yeah, I think the average for the last few years has been around like 625, 630.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're getting that kind of score, you're average. If you're pushing 650, that's probably good.
Mm-hmm.
If you want like excellent scores, if you get kind of above 700, you're doing like top 5% stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like you said, what you've got your UCAT score already, so only apply to universities where you meet the criteria.
Yeah.
So check if you get 620, just make sure that the universities you're applying to accept 620 and they don't set a cutoff of 650, because otherwise you're just wasting an application.
Yeah, and that's the worst.
They won't take you, so don't do it. Will the UCAT be made more difficult this year due to predicted grades?
I don't. I mean, I wouldn't know. I don't, don't work for them, so I don't know what they're doing. But I can't see them doing that, to be honest. I don't know. What do you think?
I think they'll change a few sections this time, and I think they will try and make it a little more tricky in some areas. Some of the scores did go up last year. I don't know if that's just because people were kind of taking it at home.
Doing it at home.
But I can't see them massively making it
won't
harder.
It won't be ridiculously
your practice
different.
will be as good. So set a target in your practice and work towards that.
That's the thing, it'll be the same for everyone as well. So, even the people at the top will be, finding it proportionally harder. So, practice.
Any kind of free resources for the revision? Like, what did you use when you were studying?
So I think my sixth form had a couple of those books in the library, like the however many UCAT questions.
Yeah, I think it's like 1250 or 1500 now. It's like it used to be like 800.
Yeah. So I just used that really, and I think I used a few of the mock tests online. So I think Kaplan has a couple of free that you can use on there, and the UCAT website as well has loads of practice questions. So I think just Google, free resources, and I think there'll be, loads on there. So
yeah, there's lots and lots of free resources. If that works for you, great. If you want to use a paid question bank, there's loads of those out there as well. If that works for you, great. If you want a bit more personal, like guidance like this, where you go through questions, look at the crash course, whatever works best for you, just maximize the score however works best for you.
Yeah, there's no right way of doing it. It's literally down to personal preference. And
what advice do you have when you want to try and increase your speed and you lose accuracy? So you're trying to go faster, but then you lose accuracy. What would you do with that kind of scenario?
I think try and increase speed and lose accuracy. I think as long as you are not making silly mistakes, then that's fine. I think things like, the question with the units, I think, as long as you're not rushing where you miss something like that, then you'll be fine. I think, making the odd, calculation error, everyone's going to do that. But I think, when you're getting to a point where you're, looking back at, the explanation. So like, make sure you're going back and looking at question explanations and scores. And if you're thinking like, oh my gosh, how have I missed that? Then I think that you need to think, okay, let's slow it down a bit and get the score up. Because the thing is as well, like it is okay to guess, like if you really are unsure, and then spending a bit more time on questions where you think, okay, I can get this one right. So yeah, it's a fine line, I think. Speed and accuracy.
We'll probably take like maybe a couple more questions. I might just scroll down like halfway and just in case anybody ask questions slightly later on, hasn't had the opportunity to rise up. So I'll literally just find like 2 more. That's another one about hours. Is this recording sent to us? Yeah, within 48 hours, and it'll be on our YouTube channel. That's an easy question to answer. If I score less on the QR, so quantitative reasoning, can I make up for it on the other sections? That's quite a nice way to think about it.
Yeah, for sure. I think it is very common that people have, certain strengths and weaknesses, and, you're not going to get the same score across all sections. But I think, yeah, like it's easy enough to make up marks in other places. But I wouldn't say neglect it. If you are struggling and then you're just saying, okay, I'm just going to get a low score and then I'll just revise lows for the other sections, bring it up. I wouldn't say do that. I'd say, give time to all of them and make sure you're doing the best you can in all of them. And if you don't do as well in one of them, then, it's really not the end of the world. And sometimes you surprise yourself as well on the day. Like the sections I was doing worse on in practice ended up being my best sections on the day. So yeah, you can bring your score up from other ones.
Okay, cool. And just another question, are we doing more sessions on the UCAT? Yes, I think we probably are. So after this, maybe check the webinars tab on our website. The registration should be open for that probably tomorrow or the day after. So if you want more UCAT advice and things, then yeah, we'll see you there. If anybody wants to see us on the UCAT crash course, we'll see you there probably next week. I think the next date is, and then there's a couple in August as well. Minnie, really appreciate you being back here and giving us all your great advice and guidance as always. Hopefully we'll see you on some more webinars soon.
Yeah, thank you for having
me. Enjoy your time
really
off
good.
now as well.
Woo!
Enjoy the sun.
Yeah, good luck with your UCAT revision, everyone. You'll enjoy it and just work hard and it'll be worth it in the end. See you guys later.
Cool. See you later.
Bye.